Bizarre Brain Comics. Hello, my comic book friends, and welcome to Bizarre Brain Comics. I am Gary, your host. And this is where I like to take a look at some older comics, talk a little bit about the characters and creators, and examine the stories and the art. And this time, we're going to take a look at one of the stories in this book. It says Marvel Tales number 10 from 1967. And this is a large square-bound volume. And it reprints a comic story from a Spider-Man story from 1964. And then also has three other reprint stories in here from Strange Tales, Journey into Mystery, and Tales to Astonish. So this time we're going to look at the Spider-Man story. And I may revisit this issue for one of the other stories. Now this copy is a very, very rough copy. As you can see, has no back cover. And just now I had to tape up the front cover because it was almost completely off. It's old and worn and good readable copy, but not much if you're into the collecting aspect, for other than reading and having. And this is neat because this is a Stan Lee Steve Ditko story during that time when Steve Ditko was doing really well in his art. And this is the story from Spider-Man 15, the Amazing Spider-Man number 15, just 3 years before, with the first appearance of Kraven the Hunter. And this is Ditko at the height of his powers. The draftsmanship is so much better than just a decade later, when he was doing the his own stuff and horror comics for Charlton and stuff. Usually an artist's draftsmanship and stuff doesn't. It like usually kind of continues to improve up until they start getting very, very much up there in age, and their skills kind of drift off. But this is his good stuff. Before his less than spectacular draftsmanship in those later years of the 70s and 80s. That's not to say I don't like Steve Ditko from that time period too. And it's just that his draftsmanship was not comparable to this. That's why I've said this time on Spider-Man, and when he was doing Captain Atom and the Blue Beetle at Charlton, that's some of his best work right there, in my opinion. So we're going to have a little look-see inside, shall we? Okay, here we go. You see the inside cover. Have the table of contents here, and then the splash page here. It says originally presented in Spider-Man 15. Remember, this is old as in itself. It's almost as old as the original printing. Now, this being, whoops, there, being Marvel Tales is best known, of course, for being primarily a Spider-Man reprint, which is what they did this did various reprints earlier on, and then in the 70s they just picked up, and for years and years it was just reprinting the Spider-Man stories from the Amazing Spider-Man, which was actually during that time period where I got most of my Spider-Man stuff. I was more interested in. I didn't realize it was reprint though at the time. But anyway, here's Kraven the Hunter. You can see this nice example of Ditko's draftsmanship, and starts off. He's busting a bunch of gangsters. It turns out that their leader was the Chameleon, but he got away. Spidey didn't know that was the Chameleon, though. And he says he can't function with Spider-Man, so he calls in a friend of his called Kraven the Hunter, who's a great, a world famous big game hunter. And he appears, and J. Jonah Jameson's there, and brings Parker along to meet him at the ship for an interview. Animals accidentally bust loose, and we get to see a prime example of Kraven at work as he subdues the escaped beasts. And Spidey, while he changed to Spidey, he didn't need to, but he saw it too. Wow! Now he finds out that Kraven is after. He wants to find Spider-Man, and of course, take down Spider-Man, because people consider Spidey a menace. And then they're conniving, Chameleon and Kraven conniving, and Spidey's doing his Spidey stuff, stopping bad guys, but he doesn't know it. It's still part of a setup. Kraven has been watching him, observing him in his natural element. But Spidey realizes he's been watched, he's been observed. He confronts Kraven, and surprised at how well Kraven does against him. But Kraven is, he's stronger than I thought, and he gets him with a dart that's drugged, and it kind of makes him woozy, and he takes off. And it's still bothering Spidey a little bit, but for the most part, he's fine. He's having romantic problems with Betty, and because this is when he was dating Betty Brant, and of course, hassled by Flash Thompson, etc., etc. So he's out trying to find. They just doing his patrol stuff, and our villains, they're coming up with a plan. Spidey spots Kraven entering the Central Park, follows him. It's a trap, but how come Spidey sense didn't quite alert him? That's because there are two Kravens. And then Kraven gets this gizmo on him that's supposed to super magnetically attach to his arm and his leg, and to limit his mobility. It does, but he's strong enough to overcome it and gum it all up with his webbing. And he's only slightly handicapped now. And he finds the second Kraven, and yes, it's the Chameleon. So that leaves, he's only got to deal with the real Kraven. Then he turns the tables and he starts hunting Kraven. Kraven doesn't like that, until finally they come head to head. Boom, boom, boom. And he gets caught in the spider web. Then he gets those gauntlets off, and those cuffs off, and he's fine. The cops haul him all away because all the hassle they've been doing. And, well, Kraven's deported because but he didn't really commit any crimes, and Chameleon did, so he's hauled off. And then Pete is his usual Pete self, neurotic, having some bad luck in his romantic life. And then we get this big single-page ad for Sergeant Fury and his Howling Commandos. So that's all I'm going to show you this time for this issue of Marvel Tales. I think I'll cover one of these other stories at a later date. But that's really Ditko at his prime. Some cool old... And one thing I like, it's all one self-contained story. This exact story would probably take 3, if not 4 issues today. And it doesn't need to. Everything needed to be told was told. It was good. I really enjoy it. I hope you enjoy that too. And thank you for joining me. Please like, share, and subscribe. And remember, comics are art.